Okay, now here we are with the finished project, and the footage for where I did the adornments underneath the charger top is all missing. That was all corrupt, and the audio was messed up after all of that. So let me tell you exactly how I did it. Now, first of all, down on the bottom pumpkin, this black is a leather. It is leather ribbon. I know they sell this at Michael's. It is not over in the ribbon section. It's over with the leather working stuff. So I know a lot of people are going to say, where did you get that? What is it? It is leather. I already had it in my stash. I ended up with a big roll of it for a very long time. I'm out of it now. You don't need to use leather there. You can just put another ribbon. You can put a black one. If you want the same colors that I have, I was going for a black and white kind of theme with a little bit of muted orange because my kitchen is mainly black and white most of the time. So let me show you all the ribbons and tell you how I did this. Number one, you put down the charger first. If you put down all of the ribbons and stuff on top of the pumpkin that's on top, your charger will not sit straight and it will not be level and you won't be able to use it for anything. I actually use mine for serving muffins and stuff, as you can see in the picture that was in the thumbnail and that I'm going to show you here at the end. But the charger is not food safe. So you have to put another plate or a doily or something down on it. It says right on the charger, it's not food safe. Now, to do the ribbons, I had this black and white polka dot ribbon. It came from Joann's or Michael's. Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, they all have black polka dot ribbon on white right now. So if you want one exactly like this, that's where you would get it. This one here is a black ribbon with gold chevron. I also got this at Joann's, I do believe it was, or Michael's. I'm not sure which store carries this 360 line, but I've had this in my stash forever, and so if you want that, you can look for that at one of those stores. I also ended up getting this Halloween ribbon, and it is a light orange. I wanted something with light orange. It just happens to have a little bit of black around the edge, and I thought it was really cute. I also ended up using this black and white stripe ribbon, and they have this everywhere. I think I ended up getting this one actually from Walmart. Walmart carries a lot of these ribbons too. I can't guarantee that the black and white with the polka dot is there, but I know they do have polka dot ribbon, and it might be cheaper than the craft store. Also, Dollar Tree carries a bunch of ribbons. These are the ones I have on hand right now, but they even have more and some prettier ones that you can do this with all Dollar Tree products, and you don't have to purchase anything from another craft store. Also, it has leaves and little berries underneath of it. They're really light colored leaves and light berries with a little bit of gold on them. Those came from Dollar Tree as well. I just took them off of multiple different garlands that I had that had Dollar Tree products on it, so I could get all the lighter leaves instead of using greens and stuff. These are all light orange. So in order to put these ribbons on, since you put down the charger first, you take like the black and white one if you want to do it like I did, and you just cut a piece, fold it in half, put a little hot glue on it, and then tuck it underneath. That's how I did it. I tucked it underneath and glued it in there. It's just that easy. The same thing with the leaves. I just took a leaf, a little dot of hot glue, and pushed it in there, and the same thing with the berries. All of that footage was not available. That's another reason why the video ended up coming down. This is quick. It's easy. I will warn you, do not spray paint the orange pumpkins. they will melt with the spray paint and look horrible and you will be angry. So make sure you hand paint them. You can chalk paint them, you can acrylic paint them. I have done both. The white on these is acrylic paint. The reason I adorn them the way that I did is because I saw them in several pictures and at like places like Home Goods, and I thought it was really nice. Also, the little thumbtacks, these are kind of antiqued. Dollar Tree sells thumbtacks in silver and in gold. I don't know if they have an antique one, but if you want yours to look like this, you could buy the gold ones and then put a whole bunch of them down in a piece of cardboard and then hand paint or spray paint over them, and then once they're dry, take them out and put them in the pumpkin. That's just the easiest way to paint thumbtacks that I have found. Hi loves, it's Lacey, and today we're going to be doing another DIY for the fall season, and we're going to be utilizing mostly Dollar Tree items, but we also have this fence plank from Target's Bullseye Playground. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to use some leftover foam board that I have. I have black, you can use white, it really doesn't make a difference, it's your preference. I'm going to be covering up quite a bit of this, but we need to cut the pieces to the length of this board, and we're going to put some sides and a front part on it. Let's get into that. Grid on it. I don't know if you can see it with the camera, but there is a grid, so you can follow the lines that are on it. I don't think the camera's picking it up, but that's what I did. I measured out 5 inches here and 2.5 inches there, so it should pretty much meet up, and it does. If it's a little off, it doesn't make a difference because we're going to cover all of this up, but we do need to create a box that fits the bottom of this. So here it is. Nothing is glued together. I'm going to put a few cross ones through here, this size, out of some of the leftover pieces that I have, so that it will sit sturdy. You don't need to put a bottom on it. It'll be fine if we just put a few cross ones across here, and then we'll glue it all together. And believe me, this is the hardest part of this. Okay, so here's what our base looks like underneath. You can see these aren't even perfectly even. It really doesn't make a difference. I made it to fit under this crossbar here, so it's like a little stage or whatever, because we are going to be using this as our backdrop, and this is what we're going to be putting most of our craft things on, is the little base. Now, you do not have to make this. I'm trying to make this completely from Dollar Tree products and this one board from Target's Bullseye Playground. Okay, now that we are waiting for our piece to dry, I laid it down. It's dried for about a half an hour or so. I'm going to leave it for another hour, I do believe. But while we're waiting, we can do some of the other parts. So I purchased this at Dollar Tree doll furniture piece, and it was originally lavender, as you can see underneath. Then I spray painted it a burgundy color for another project and changed my mind and decided I wanted it for this project. So it is spray painted heirloom white, and that is a Rust-Oleum color. I had already spray painted it when I decided I was going to use it for this project, and so that's what we're going to be doing. Then we are going to take, or I already took, these burlap ribbons from Dollar Tree. I have the tan one. This is like a brown or a greenish brown and orange, and I'm going to cut pieces and lay them on top of each other, which I already did, like this. The tan is underneath, the orange is on top, and then the brownish color is on top of that. I squished them together and just put some hot glue on them, and then I cut the ends jagged, just willy-nilly, nothing special, and I am going to drape it over the side of this chair so it looks like a blanket. Took this ribbon that I absolutely love and I used in my Dollar Tree pumpkin wreath form with the beads, and folded a piece over and cut it, and then glued the sides, flipped it inside out, and made this little pillow. So I'm going to have a pillow and this version of what would be a throw blanket on this couch. And I think it looks really, really cute. Okay, next I have this little lantern that was in the Halloween section at Dollar Tree. And I do not want this insert that's in here, which is the little witch and jack-o'-lanterns. So we're going to take the top off and we are going to remove that. And then we're going to cut out sections of this ribbon that Dollar Tree carries right now that I use also in my pumpkin wreath form with the little beads on it. And we're going to line the insides of this lantern with this because I think it's really, really pretty, and I like the fact that this lantern is an LED candle and you can turn it on. So all I'm going to do is just hold a piece in front of it and try to cut it as close as I can. And trim it up a little, and then stick a little hot glue inside and try to not burn myself and press it in. Okay, next I have this little pot that came from the succulents that Dollar Tree carries. I saved a bunch of these, and I know I have a brown one somewhere, but for the life of me I can't find it. So I have decided to cover it with twine. I think this will add to the look of this project, and so I'm just going to be hot gluing it all the way around, all the way up. We're going to add some Dollar Tree florals to this. I found these and I don't know what they're called. The tag on them just said bouquet filler. Now our complete base and everything is dried, so we're going to start putting this together. So on the bottom there, I am going to be placing some reindeer moss or some floral moss, whichever one you have. I have some here in this bag that I used before, and some of it is actually glued down to some like green felt. So I'm going to use a little bit of this, and I'm just going to put it like around the edges and to cover up the black here to mimic that we are outside in the grass. I'm not going to use it on the front here because I'm going to place something else there. And I don't need a ton of it. I just want to get it around the edges. Okay, next I'm going to take these river rocks or stones from Dollar Tree and glue them all the way around the bottom of the base. I know you guys are like, why did you make this base? And then now you're going to glue rocks to it. Initially, I was going to put some words across the front here, but I think that's going to be overkill. I know I'm quite extra when I do these DIYs. And so now, and my vision has changed a little, and I think I'm just going to glue the stones around to cover up this bottom part, and it's going to make it look a little more homey. You'll see in the end exactly what my plan was. Okay, here's what that looks like now. I simply glued the rocks randomly, trying not to put two of the same color right next to each other. And as you can see, I have an entire pile. I don't know, that's about 14 or so rocks left over. Now I did the entire front, and then on the sides, I kind of did down the bottom and let some of the moss come down. I used the reindeer moss from Dollar Tree. I wanted to make sure I use as many Dollar Tree products as I possibly can. And I did both sides of it like that. And I really like how it turned out. Now your stones may not fit in as tightly as mine. And I made sure I got the bigger river rocks that had this variegated color because of the back of my thing, but they have them in solid black and they have smaller stones. If you get the smaller stones, I can't guarantee that it's only going to take one bag. But where they didn't fit completely together, then I put in some moss into the big gaps. There are little gaps and I didn't worry about that. But I just dropped some hot glue in there and put some moss. Now, I have these little hooks that I got from Dollar Tree a while back. I think they came 4 or 5 in a pack. And I also have these wood stems that came from Dollar Tree earlier in the season. If you can't find these, you can simply get a stick out of your yard and cut it up, and it'll be easy to use. I had Chad put the hook in one of the wood stems because I could not find a hook long enough at my local Dollar Tree to be able to do this. And so I'm going to glue that to the center of this end post fairly high up. Now I'm going to add my seat here to the bottom and pretty much in the middle. I scoot it over just a bit. I'm going to add my planter that I made. And then over on this side, I'm going to add one of the Dollar Tree hay bales. I waited to the last minute to open this because I know it's going to be quite messy. I took some more of those wood stems and I glued them together, as you can see here. And I never make a project like this without having some kind of tree. And so I had planned to take this and add some stems off of some flowers that I had before. You know, just some stem pieces like this, and add them to this to make a tree. And I am going to do that. But then I was going to add some of the little leaves. So I had like actual fall leaves. And I'm going to try that. But I think I actually want to add some mums because I have these beautiful mums here from Dollar Tree. And I was thinking maybe those would look better. So let's see what I come up with. And here's my final project, and I really, really like how it turned out. This is very easy to do. The only issue is there are little projects that you have to do to go on this overall project, and they are a little time consuming. They're not hard to do at all, like putting the twine around the little pot that I had, or even changing the insert in the lantern. It just takes a little bit of time. Plus, I did a couple of extra steps because I didn't like the color of the pumpkin, so I repainted both the white and the orange to more of a creamy white and a lighter orange. The bonus for that is you can still see all the little speckles that are on the pumpkin through it, so I didn't exactly change what the pumpkin style was. I just lightened the colors up a little bit. And for the rocks on the bottom, I think that was a great added touch. I think it gives to the whole backyard kind of patio feel. However, if you are going to be doing this and placing this outside or anywhere where it's going to be super hot, use E6000 or Gorilla Glue or some other industrial strength glue, because hot glue will not keep these stones on that foam board. The whole project will sit up by itself. I did not have an issue with that, as long as you reinforce the front of it and the bottom with the stone. It definitely helps that board stay up because it is a little bit heavy. I am leaving it right here in the back of my kitchen on my sideboard, and it will be part of my backdrop for fall. I also went with just the leaves over on the tree, and I think that turned out really well too. You could do flowers, you could do anything you really want. Plus, you could change this color scheme from traditional fall colors to something lighter or something brighter, whatever goes with your decor. I bought this chicken wire ribbon at Hobby Lobby on sale for $2.39 a roll. Let's make something with it. Here we go. So we are going to cut strips with this that are about 42 inches long for a standard wine bottle. And these rolls of chicken wire are 15 feet long. So, and like I said, it is chicken wire, so the ends, when you cut them, they're going to be sharp. Be very careful with it. On one roll, you will get 4 of the strips. Once you cut your strips, you're going to work with one of them at a time. And as you see, they stick together, so be careful. You're going to take your strip and then fold it in half and find out where the middle is. Then leave a little bit of that bend in the middle and put your wine glass on top of it. Now mine is empty, and so it is going to move it just a little. And we're going to bend the chicken wire around like this and kind of try to make it into a curved shape. I'm going to take the ends and push them together. Like I said, be careful, it is chicken wire. And then try to twist them just a little. You don't have to get crazy. So they'll turn up toward the spout and look like this. And you want this bottle to be in the middle of that bend. If it moves, don't worry about it because we're not going to glue the bottom yet. Okay? And that's what that's going to look like. Can you tell what we're trying to make? Okay, as you can see, we are trying to make a pumpkin form. And don't worry if it looks wonky. We just want to get all of these glued to the stem to start with. And we're using hot glue right now just to get them on. Then we're going to use a little E6000, and then you'll see how we'll secure it perfectly. So here is our pumpkin form going around with the chicken wire. So now what we're going to do, I use hot glue to put this on. I'm going to be trying to use it on my porch, so I want it to last with the elements. So I'm going to put some E6000 glue all the way around all of those connections onto the wine bottle. Then before we secure it, I have some fairy lights. Okay, here I'm making the stem, and as you can see, I'm using the nautical rope just as is. I tried to use it taken apart, but it was just fraying everywhere, and I didn't like that. We're not going to see most of it anyway by the time I'm done with this. You guys all know how extra I can be. I just want to make a stem here on this pumpkin. So I'm simply just wrapping it around and gluing it, and I glued it to the battery pack and to this chicken wire that is obviously not going to come off for any reason whatsoever. So far. Now, if you saw everything in the video, I decided to go ahead and use the rope that's a full piece of rope instead of taking the pieces apart. I started to do that, but it shed really bad, and you're not going to see it very much once I start embellishing this. Now, the easiest way to do this, because I know a lot of people are going to say, well, why didn't she just crisscross all the pieces down, glue them to the bottom of the bottle, and then glue the sides up? I did attempt that. It is harder to do that way because you need to manipulate the wire quite a bit, and it will pull it off the bottom if you're using just hot glue. If you are going to be doing it with E6000 that way and gluing the bottom down, you're going to have to wait for a long time for it to dry, and so I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get it put together and then just use a little E6000 to guarantee that this is going to stay together, because I want to put it on my porch. Now, when you're done gluing all the top parts to the neck of the bottle and you do your rope at the top, it's gonna look a hot mess. This wire will be all bent up. It won't look like this. You'll have to just shape it after. It didn't take me long, less than 5 minutes, and I like the shape of it. If you're OCD like me and you think it should be perfectly even all the way around, don't make this project, because it won't be. Mine is not perfectly even all around, but it looks like a regular pumpkin. You know, they grow in the wild. They're not perfect. So the next thing we're gonna do is then glue the bottom sections to the bottom of the wine bottle, and I want it to lay as flat as possible. So I'm going to do it inside of the bottom of the wine bottle. It does have an indentation in it, and then I'm going to take a piece of old cardstock that I had left over and cut it in a circle and glue that on top of the bottom, like, you know, underneath, with a little E6000 to guarantee it's going to stay. So now it's time to decorate the top. You know, pumpkins have leaves and things, and you guys already know how extra I am. So I have all kinds of ribbon. I have 2 of them sitting here, but I have a whole box of ribbon sitting by me. And I just thought, how cool would it be to use my pumpkin ribbon on a pumpkin? So I pulled that one out. I also pulled this one out because it had little gold wire, and since the chicken wire is gold, I thought it was good, and it also had green. I have a few more sitting here. I might use some of them too. I have a whole bunch of little pieces of things that I keep from other projects that I didn't use at all, and so all of those are sitting here. And then I have these beautiful picks that I got from Hobby Lobby a couple of years ago on clearance at the end of the season, and I have 2 of them. I didn't even take off the tags yet. They were regular $2.99, but you know, I probably got them something like 90% off. And I think these will go perfect. I am not worried about the stem, like I said before, because I'm going to cover up a lot of it, and I'm also going to cover up the light box so you won't see it. So let's get to decorating and then I'll show you how it looks in the end. Here is my final project. I am in love with it. I cannot believe that it turned out this nice. When I saw that Hobby Lobby had the chicken wire ribbon, I knew I wanted to make something with it other than bows. So I found my ribbon, the silver one, over a month ago, and my little brain just started ticking and I came up with this. I thought I could make a metal pumpkin. I have seen metal pumpkins and I've seen pumpkins with a little chicken wire on them, but I said let's make the whole thing from scratch with just chicken wire with no form or anything with it, and this is how it turned out. Now you could have done this with a tall hurricane vase to go in the middle, but I figured why spend the extra dollar at Dollar Tree to buy that when I already had some empty wine bottles and I could use the neck for the stem, and so that is what I did. Hi loves, it's Lacey and welcome to our space. So today we are going to be making a wreath with some corn husk. I was pulling out things out of my basement, and if you guys remember this picture, I did this beaded pumpkin that I have sitting in my house right now, and I was like, oh yeah, I used corn husk for the bottom for his nest. If you didn't see it, I'll link it below. So then as I'm digging through other stuff, I found this. This is the very first corn husk wreath I have ever made. I think I made this like 5 years ago, or maybe even a little bit more. This was even before my channel was called Lacey's Space. I ended up using a foam green wreath form from Dollar Tree and wrapping the corn husk all the way around it. And as you can see, after being stored all those years, it started to curl up. I actually couldn't believe that I did a Lacey's Space bow on this with just one color of ribbon, one kind of ribbon, and I put pine cones and some leaves on it. It wasn't my best attempt, but I liked it at the time. Though all of the corn husk has curled up from being warm and then not being warm in my basement. And so I wanted to show you guys that you can take a water bottle and spray down each one of the pieces and then just rub the water in and it will straighten them out. And that's what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to take and just do this and put this one on my door. However, it's quite small. It's not a very big reform. So I decided let's just make another one because I really like what this looks like and I need a new wreath for my door. So what we are going to do is I am taking a gold wreath form from Dollar Tree. It's a 14-inch one, and I'm showing you here that I took out one of these and I just grabbed some corn husks from my local grocery store, which is Meijer. It doesn't make any difference which brand you get. These are normally used to make tamales, and I pulled out one to show you that I wet it down, and when you wet it down a little and let it dry out some, it's very flexible and it's ready to be used to make a reform. But if you take them completely out of the pack, they are hard most of the time, depending on where they're stored in your grocery store, and you can't use them as well. So let me show you how I prep them. I just put them all in my sink and I pull them apart individually. These look kind of clumped up. And I cover them all and then put about half a cup of bleach in there. This helps with killing any creepy crawlers that are in there and make sure that they don't mold later on you because it's all treated with bleach already. Then after I rinse the bleach off, I lay them out on a old towel just in case some bleach is left on them. You don't want to ruin anything. And let them dry for a while. I pat them all down dry. I have to do this on like 4 or 5 different towels because you get about 8 ounces, I do believe, of these, but it's plenty to make a large wreath. Then I stack them up on some paper towel And I put paper towel in between the layers, and don't worry, I don't waste all that paper towel. I use it for other crafts and other things. Nothing food related, however, because I'm using it for this. And then they're ready to go. And so I peel them apart into pieces about, I don't know, maybe 2 inches is the widest one that I use. And then I'm going to be gluing them down to the first round on these 3 form, the first circle, the outer one. So how I do it is I cut them in at the bottom, the width that I want them, and then I tear them down. Don't try to tear them from the top, because you're going to tear the tops really, really too much, and you'll be wasteful in some of it. So I cut it in the middle, or wherever I want for the width that I want. You can make yours wider, you can make yours a little smaller, and then I am gluing them down to the outer round. So I did the whole outer all around. So now I'm on the second round, and I'm doing these in between the bottom ones. So as you can see, the bottom ones are all the way down. So in between pieces, so they stick out in the middle of the other ones, I'm gluing them down there. I sped up all this footage because no one wants to actually watch me glue down all of these pieces on here at one time. So now this is what the second round looks like, and I'm just got a little bit to finish up on that one. But I continue with that all the way around until we are done with the full second round. So here's what it looks like starting the third round. Now I am taking these and putting glue on them and then tucking them underneath the second round, the second circle. And then I'm holding them up off of the first 2 circles so that there's a gap between it. And then I'm going to take another one and put it on top of that one that I just did. Can you see that? So I'm going to put glue on a second one and put it on top of the one that I held up. So these both are going to be up higher. This footage is sped up just a little so you don't have to sit and watch me hold it. But as you can see, there's a gap between there. I can put my hands between. And so I did the whole second round in the middle so you can see this and see how they are lifted on some. That's what you want for this, because I'm thinking not only am I going to use it for a wreath, I could use this as sort of like a cage or a crown for a centerpiece. Okay, I slowed down all this footage because I was basically going a little bit fast for you guys so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I tucked it under and I added a little extra hot glue to that one to make sure that it stays on that center ring. And so what I did through the whole wreath, in case it was a little confusing and I went a little fast, is on the first layer I just did it on top of them, and on the second layer I made sure they went in between the bottom layer ones and just did them on top. That gave me a sturdy base for this. And then this layer and the layer underneath, this middle ring and the ring next to it, I'm tucking them underneath like this, and then I will glue the next ones directly on top of those to help cover up the ring. Now they don't have to be perfectly on top of it. You can put them in the middle so that this layer goes in between too, because it will cover the whole thing up all the way around, just as long as you start in the same spot and go all the way around. And this is what it looks like. So now we're going to speed it up a little bit more again, but I have these leaves. They were on clearance at Joann's. They were 70% off, regularly $9.99, so I got them for like $3 for $2.99. And I'm going to take off the individual leaves and glue them on the inside. At first I was going to leave it with no leaves on the inside, but I wanted some pop of color, but I didn't want it to be bright. I want it to be pretty neutral, so that's why I picked these. So I'm just putting a dot of hot glue on the back, and then I left stems on these because I'm going to put more than one layer of leaves, and so I wanted the stems to show, to like touch the bottom, and so these leaves would go up a little bit higher. So I'm going to do that and just glue the bigger leaves off of that bunch all the way around. There's some bigger ones and there's some smaller ones. So I'm using all of the bigger ones to glue to this right now. And I'm just going to go around until the edges kind of touch each other, and it doesn't really make a difference because I'm going to put another layer. However, I also am going to take some of the bigger ones that I have that are left, because there's a bunch of them, and tuck them in to the sides of the wreath, and I've already done that with some. I'm just going to take a bit of hot glue and put it on the spine, and then tuck them into the corn husk so they come out around. This is because I have an idea to use it maybe on a tabletop too, and I will show you that in a little bit. And I thought it would be nice to have some color coming out all around the edges. So now I'm taking some of the smaller ones and I'm putting them in between each one of the larger ones in the middle. And this is what the whole thing looks like. I love how it turned out. But I wanted to add in some of these. These are some like cattails, but they're like the foxtail cattails, and they're in a very neutral color. I wanted this whole wreath to be neutral. These came in a pack with other florals from Home Goods, so I just pulled out the cattails. And I'm just going to cut the stems all down and then tuck them in places just to give it another texture. Just because I wanted to, just because I'm extra. If you are always on my channel, then you already know I'm extra. It was perfectly fine the way it was before, but you know me, I have to put some more in. So I'm just going to cut down a bunch of these and then tuck them in under the corn husk. You can just put them behind the leaves. I'm going to spread them out. They're going to be different layers of it too. So some of them up higher, some of them are down lower. It's all personal preference. And this is what it looks like on the inside of my front door. And then this is what it looks like on the outside of my front door. It's so much bigger than the other one. Like, it's a 14-inch wreath form, but it's wide. Here it is on my dining room table. Look at how big it is. It's very pretty, and I love the fact that it curled up. This is actually the next day when I'm taking this footage when it was bright outside again, because it got dark on me when I was making it. And all of the little ends have like a different personalities because they bend wherever they want to. And see what I mean for it to be like something to lay on your table. I just put one of my mums in this beautiful pot in it, and it's a beautiful centerpiece. You can put something in the middle with candles or whatever you really wanted. And then I had actually decorated a real pumpkin. I had painted it with a Waverly chalk paint in a cashew and used some paper flowers and some of those leaves prior to this. And I put it in here and it looks really nice as well. So you can do it any kind of way that you want. So that is it for this video. Comment down below, would you make a corn husk wreath? They are really nice. If you're in a very humid area, I can tell you right now, it's going to curl up on you. And I like mine like this. It's kind of messy and stuff instead of perfectly straight. The other one I did was perfectly straight at one point though. So that's it. If you're not a subscriber here, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Hang out with us for a while. We have a lot of fun here, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye, loves. Did you know that you can use your Cricut Explorers or Cricut Makers to cut wood and wood veneer? I am going to be using my Cricut Maker 3 today to show you how. Hi loves, it's Lacey and welcome to our space. So for our first project, we're going to start out with some wood veneer from Cricut. It is in the color walnut, and they also have it in a lighter color that is maple, as seen here on the front of this. And with this pack, you get 2 sheets of wood veneer. I also have this thrifted canvas that I have that has an extra wood piece in the back, so we're going to be utilizing that. I also have this beautiful fabric that's for fall that came from Joann's. I have quite a bit of this, so we're going to cut a piece to cover the canvas. I also thought I might use these wood beads, but I decided against it in the end, and you'll see what I do instead. I also have a Cricut's strong grip mat. In order to cut wood veneer, you're going to need the strong grip mat. So first of all, I decided to take my canvas and cover it with a piece of that beautiful fabric. I cut the fabric to be about 1.5 inches wider than the canvas so I could wrap it all the way around. And I am using my Ryobi staple gun, it's the Crown staple gun, to put 2 staples in each one of these spots that I'm going to fold it over, and I'm just kind of following the line of the plaid. And so I'm going to quickly do that all the way around, starting on one side and then going to the opposite side to staple, and then putting 2 staples in the same spot, one on top of each other, just to ensure that it is nice and taut and it stays in place. Now once I get to the corners, you have several options. You could just fold the corners in and then lay them on top of each other like this and put a couple staples there. This is what that corner will look like. However, I want it a little bit neater, so I'm going to fold my corners in on one side and then bend them over straight to the edge. Now, when it's really bulky fabric in the corner, it doesn't want to lay down very well, I'm going to take my scissors and just cut off about 1/2 inch in and down the side, so I end up with a rectangular little piece that I take out of it so it's not so bulky underneath. And then I refold that in any spot where it seems to be coming up underneath. You can add a drop or 2 of hot glue to help hold them down. And so I'm going to do that with my Ryobi hot glue gun here to make sure that corner stays intact and doesn't come apart. And then I'm going to fold it down straight across and put 2 staples into that corner. It's quite simple. You can just fold it like a present, or you can fold it like this, which is kind of how a fitted bed sheet would go. And I put 1 staple on top of each. And then I'm going to add a little bit more hot glue to ensure that it stays down. I'm going to do this on all 4 of my corners because I want it to be really nice and neat. And if I were going to give this to someone, once I got all of these corners folded, I would also include, with a little hot glue, a piece of felt across the back so you couldn't see all the staples. However, it's for me, so I'm keeping it that way. So next, I am going to be loading my wood veneer sheet. It's a 12 by 12 sheet onto my strong grip mat, and I'm using a brayer from Cricut to make sure it adheres really well. Since it's wood, it might have the tendency to move around, so I'm also going to be adding some painter's tape all the way around. I suggest you do this. You can use painter's tape in the blue, or like frog tape or masking tape. Don't use anything super strong like duct tape because it could damage your product. Then I'm going to make sure I cut off all the edges of that overlap so it doesn't mess with my design. Then we're with Cricut Design Space here, and I decided I want to make an image of a pumpkin. So I hit images, typed in pumpkin, and it showed me all of these. Now, if you don't have Cricut access, they do have some free ones. You can click free over in the side and we'll show you which ones you can use there. But you could also upload your own image, and that's what I did here. I had this image from a long time ago and I just uploaded it, and here I am making it the size that I like for this project. I'm going to have it just about 9 inches wide, and it's going to be a little over 9 inches long for. So the next, here you can see I'm adding text that I want to go next to my Cricut, and in order to make your text stacked up like that, I hit the letter and then hit the enter key and then my next letter all the way down until I spell out the word that I like. And then I'm going to go into the fonts and check to see, because I want to change the font on this. The normal one is the Cricut Sans font, but I want it Cooper Black, so I actually wrote it up in the search engine and it came up, and I am now resizing this to make sure it fits exactly how I want it. Then once I get it resized and fitting next to my pumpkin like I like, I'm going to put a box around the entire thing to ensure that it stays just like this when it's cutting, and I'm going to hit the word attach, and you'll see that it's attached by the side where both of the items that I'm doing are in gray. After that, we're going to hit make it, and it is going to tell us what to do next. It's going to give us a preview, and I'm going to say, yes, I'm cutting this out on a mat. And then it's going to give me prompts of what to do with my machine. It's also going to ask me what material I'm using for this, and I'm going to pick wood veneer. So for wood veneer, it tells me I have to change out the blade on my machine. The blade that we're going to be using is the deep cut blade, and it's in this black housing, and so I'm going to install this and take out my fine cut blade out of it. Then I press play on it after I load my mat, and it just cuts with such ease. I absolutely love how this is. I did speed up this footage so you guys can see how it is cutting it, but it cuts it out with perfection. Nothing moved. So then after I unload my mat, I'm going to remove all of my little painter's tape, and if it gets on your project, don't worry, it comes off really easy. And then I am going to flip my mat over and just run my hand over what is supposed to be the excess wood that we would not need. However, because how this project is, I'm using what would be the excess wood to remove away from the project as my project for this. With this wood veneer, I'm going to only cut this one piece, and I'm going to get 3 actual DIYs out of it. That is the beauty of this project. I was so excited that I was getting 3 DIYs. As you can see, I use hot glue and I put the wood down on my fabric, and now I'm taking a pick from Hobby Lobby that I got earlier. It's really nice fall colors. I took it apart because I wanted it to lay a certain way, and it was too bulky in full and had a long stem on it. So I just took the stem off, and I am placing each one of the individual pieces down in order to make it fit around this corner of the pumpkin the way that I like. You can decorate yours any kind of way you like if you decide to make this project. I'm even including some of these green leaves that I used in different projects that also came from Hobby Lobby in a garland. I do believe it's called the red and green ivory maple garden, and I absolutely love how they look with this project. I put 2 or 3 of them in, and then I'm going to add in a little bit of this eucalyptus that also came from Hobby Lobby, and it has some variegated colors on it, and then this project is done. I love how this turned out, and I think it'd be perfect to hang on a wall or lean up against one like I have here. Now on to project number 2. We're going to be using this Dollar Tree wood round and these 4 ribbons. A couple of them are from Dollar Tree and the rest are from Michael's, I do believe. I am then going to measure my transfer tape from Cricut, and I'm going to be utilizing only the pumpkin here for this next DIY. So I take my scraper tool and I make sure I adhere it down to my transfer tape, and I'm using my spatula here to help it get started to stay onto the transfer tape. It worked out really easy for me here. This footage is sped up just a little. Then I just use my hand to make sure that it stays down, and voila, it is on the transfer tape perfectly. Then I'm going to want to transfer it onto my wood round, but since it's not sticky or anything on the back, I need some way to have it stick. That's why I'm putting hot glue. I'm using Gorilla Hot Glue with my high heat glue gun. And you have to work pretty quickly here so your hot glue doesn't dry. If you are using a low heat glue gun, I suggest you add something like E6000 to the back. Or you could maybe do this with a glue stick too. Now I'm just holding it as I push down and to make sure it doesn't move, and I did have to glue down that little piece at the top extra. Just take your time and it should work out fine. Next, we're going to be making my signature bow to go with this. It is called, by me, the Whimsical Chaotic Mess Bow. And so what I do is I fold over my first ribbon, which is normally my more patterned ribbon, and then on top of that I fold over my next widest ribbon, and then I go down in size of ribbon. So I have 2 really narrow ones, so I'm going to set those next to each other. It doesn't make a difference if you put them on top of each other or next to each other. I just thought it would be easier to kind of put them next to each other. And then I'm going to fold all of them over on each other up probably about 5 times, because we all know how extra I am, and I always want my bows to be really full, really big, and normally I kind of make them too big for the project, but I'm never mad at it because I'm extra, and my bows sometimes have me extra. And so today we're gonna have an extra bow because I just love this ribbon and I love this project. So then once I get it all together, I'm going to cut into the side just a little bit, just into the wire that's in those larger ribbons, and I'm gonna do it not exactly across from each other, a little bit diagonal, and then wrap them with some floral wire. This is just some beige floral wire that I ended up getting on clearance at Michael's. They have it right now. And then I'm going to tie it on the back. I'm going to squeeze the ribbon together and kind of fold it in the front, and then tie this ribbon or this wire around the ribbon several times to make sure it's nice and tight. And make sure you don't cut all the way through your ribbons, just make sure that it's tight. Then we are going to cut all the way through all of the edges of this, all of the loops that we created by folding it over 4 or 5 times, and then it's going to look like this on both sides. Make sure you cut all the loops open so you just have straight pieces of ribbon. Then you're going to grab each individual one, pull it out, and twist it. It doesn't make a difference which way you twist it. You're just going to pull them out and twist it. I'm twisting all of my larger pieces because my smaller pieces are going to move with the larger pieces. I always like my ribbons and my bows and stuff to consist of at least 3 ribbons. And so here I have 4 because I have smaller ones. And once you're done with that, they'll just kind of be a mess, looking kind of chaotic all over. That's why I call it my whimsical chaotic mess bow. So I always leave one long tail, especially on like my fancier ribbons, so then I can establish where I want the bottom to be. So wherever that sticks out from, we're going to push that ribbon down and make that the bottom. That gives you a way to see where the top of your bow is going to be. Then we're going to dovetail all of the larger pieces of ribbon, cutting them into a V, and then the smaller ones I'm just going to cut over to the side like this. After I do that, I'm going to fluff it all together. Now, I already added on my extra tail pieces, which was pretty easy. All I did was cut some extra ribbon and then gathered it at the top and tied it up with that extra wire that I had in the back. I actually put 4 on there, as you can see, but I ended up taking off one of the orange ones because I felt it was too heavy on the side because I want my bow to come off to the side. Now I'm taking some wired jute from Dollar Tree and I'm making a loop, and I'm wrapping around the excess of it around the base of it so it's strong enough to hold this ribbon. However, I am going to hang my sign by the jute that's on the sign. So I wanted this to hang independently because you couldn't really glue it to the sign without covering up too much of the pumpkin or making it too heavy for the jute. And this is what it looks like. I hung the sign on the wall and then I hung the bow on the wall. And now moving on to our last project, we're going to use the thankful word that's left on our mat. We're going to leave it on the mat until I need it here, and then we're going to use some other items. I have a 1x2 piece of scrap wood that I had from a previous project. We're going to use some of the wood stems that are birch from Dollar Tree. I have Waverly Antique Wax and some apple barrel paints in the colors Spice Carrot and Flamingo Red. I have some of these little shiny adornments that have leaves in it, and some of this green garland from Walmart, and I also have some berry garland from the Dollar Tree. So first of all, I'm taking the antique wax and covering my extra piece of wood here, and then I'm going to set that aside and let it dry. Then I'm going to mix in the red and orange paint using double the amount of orange, so I get like a nice burnt orange color, and then I'm going to paint both sides of these wood rounds orange. I didn't do it on camera because who really needs to see that? Then I'm going to take my letters that spell out thankful, and I'm going to glue down the T first. I decided to then glue all of the rounds down to my stem. I'm going to turn it over sideways here so you can see after I get it all glued down, and then I'm going to put the rest of the letters on so that they are even. I started to do it before that, but then I realized they look wonky if I put them all on before and not even in a line. So now I'm just using a little Gorilla Hot Glue with my Ryobi glue gun, and I'm gluing them to the center of each one of these wood rounds. Can you guess what I'm making? I'm making little pumpkins. So I'm going to take these stems, just branches from my yard, and cut them down in order to make the top stems of each pumpkin. And they're all going to be different because pumpkins are all different, just like all of the little wood rounds are different. And I'm just going to use a touch of hot glue to glue each one of these on. I really love how this project is turning out, and I think it's going to be really, really cute, something that you can sit up on your mantle or put out for the holiday season. So this is what it looks like so far. Then I decided I'm going to use some of these little metallic leaves. I have maple leaves in red and in gold and kind of a bronzy color. So I'm just going to mix them up, and next to some of the stems, I'm going to put either 1 or 2 leaves, mixing the colors up. There's no rhyme or reason to this. You can do it any kind of way you like. You can even put green leaves up there instead, but I think it turned out really nice. Next, then I'm going to use some of this greenery garland that I got from Walmart. I'm just going to cut off some small sections and place them in between where the wood rounds meet, and I'm going to do it every other one. I think this gives it the appearance that the pumpkins are actually sitting on the ground and they're growing on the vine. And then next I'm going to take some berry garland from Dollar Tree. It's the one with the orange and the burgundy kind of berries on it. I'm going to put these in little curls and then place it in all of the spaces that I skipped. And this is what it looks like, and I am in love with it. I think it is a perfect piece to set either up on your mantle, or you can use it for home decor anywhere in your house. You guys know that I'm extra. I say it all the time, but I think this is just the right amount for this piece, and I'm in love with it. We're going to start off here with this gold charger that I absolutely love that came from Dollar Tree, along with several picks and leaves and some florals also from Dollar Tree. And then I have these 2 red florals that I didn't end up using. Those are from Joann's, and this really nice cord from Hobby Lobby that was 40% off, and some of these Dollar Tree wooden letters or wooden words. I also have this green and red maple ivy garland from Hobby Lobby. It's a piece of it. I used it in from my gazebo. So first of all, I'm going to figure out here which one of these signs that came in the little pack from Dollar Tree I want to use. I settled on the Hello Autumn. I was thinking maybe Hello Fall, but I like the Hello Autumn a little bit better. And what I've decided to do is to go ahead and paint this sign. I'm going to use 2 different colors of apple barrel paint. These paints ended up coming from Walmart. They are in the color Flamingo Red and Spice Carrot. And I'm going to do like a little ombre effect here on the sign. As you can see, I'm painting the top, the hello part, in the Flamingo Red. Then I'm wiping off my brush and I'm picking up some of the Spice Carrot Orange for the bottom. And I'm making sure to keep the lines a little bit separate. But in a second here, I'm going to dip my brush, there you go, in both colors, and then kind of blur the line in the middle to make it into like an ombre effect. And you can go back and forth in the colors until you get it exactly the way you want it. And then after I'm done with that, I'm just going to set it aside to dry, and we're going to work on the main part of this project. First, I'm going to cut off a bunch of leaves. These are from Dollar Tree this fall, and pick out a couple of other pieces that I want to go on this, like these floss balls. I really like these, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with them, but I took some of those as well. Then I'm going to take the cording. This is like a variegated, almost like burlap with some reds and orange, a little green and yellow in it, cording from Hobby Lobby. It's regular $5.99, but I did end up getting it 40% off earlier in the year. And I'm going to put this all the way around the inner edge of the charger plate. And I'm doing it 3 times around so it'd be thick enough to actually give a really nice border on it. And when I get to the end of the 3rd time, I'm not going to worry about how it's connected. I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to make sure that I use a little tape here. I started to cut it without the tape so it won't unravel. I'm just using Scotch tape, and cut it off and just glue it down right where it meets the other edge. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to cover up that section with a whole bunch of leaves and some florals and some picks. So now this part here that I do, I stack my leaves up in different various colors on top of each other. I cut them all the way down to the stem because I didn't want any of the stems to be peeking out of the side, and I'm going to be using the Dollar Tree ones and then several florals off of that garland from Hobby Lobby. That was just a leftover piece of garland that I had because I used it in my gazebo earlier this year all the way around the top edge. And if you didn't see that, I will link that video down below if you want to check it out. But basically, I just look at these and do them exactly how I feel like they should go. You can put them on any kind of way that you want. It's basically your personal taste. But I try to make sure that I don't get too many of the bright color leaves right next to each other. And most of the time I try to make it even from the top and the bottom. However, I knew I wanted the top section of this to be a little bit heavier. So here is where I changed my mind about this floral piece that I put on. I knew I wanted just one flower, but I didn't really like the coloring of that one. So I'm going to be taking this Dollar Tree one that's actually had a clip on the back that I just removed. And I know it's a little fast, but you can see what I'm doing here. I didn't want this video to be super long, so I sped it up a bit. And I just took the other one off and added the Dollar Tree floral. They had these for fall. They had it burgundy, orange, and a light color. And now I am taking some of those floss balls in the red and the white, and I'm tucking them in. I'm putting like 3 on the top and then 3 on the bottom. And I decided I didn't really love them all that much, so I added some more greenery on, some more of the dark green colors on top of it to cover them up just a little bit. Then I'm cleaning off my charger and I'm going to just simply hot glue my little sign on it, and this project's going to be done. I just put the hot glue, as you'll see here in a second, down the middle strip because then it'll be easy to take it off if I want to change it out to something else. But that's how easy this project is. Now I'm going to hang it on the wall with some command strips on the back, though I don't have any right this second, and so I didn't show you guys putting those on, but that's what it's doing. It's actually, I just have it stuck on the wall with some duct tape right now, but I'm going to use command strips for it. So moving on to DIY number 2. I had so many people ask me if I was going to use these brass, which I don't even think they look like brass, but these singular like little wreath forms, and they're called brass wreath rings. So I took them apart, and then I'm going to go ahead and snap them where they're connected to open them up, because we're going to be using that little extra piece of wood block that I had left over from another project for this. Dollar Tree does sell wood blocks, and so once you get all of these apart, what we're going to do is we're going to connect them into the wood block. So what I did is I just held it up and decided where I kind of wanted to put the first ring, the smallest one, and I marked it, and then I'm going to take my Ryobi drill and I put a drill bit on that matches about the size of the rings, and I'm just going to drill down into the side of each one of these, and I'm going to do it on opposite sides. So I'm going to do it on one side and I'm just tapping the dust off, and then I turned it over and did it on the other side, and then I'm going to put the rings into those holes that I drilled, and I'm going to go ahead and, after I'm done with drilling all of my holes, hot glue all of the rings in. Now on the next size ring, the medium one, I want it to go diagonal to the sides. So I already marked it so you guys can see. on one side, I'm going to drill straight down and then drill in diagonally to put a hole, and then I'm going to flip it over to the other side and do the same thing. Now these holes are about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, just enough in so that you won't split the wood or anything. And then you're going to put your next ring into that set of holes, so it's diagonal from like corner to corner. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I decided I really like that and I would like a second ring on there, and I have another reform, so I grabbed another one of the middle size and I'm going to go ahead and do it the opposite way on the other diagonal corner. I'm just taking it apart so I can lay it down and I can drill opposite. But what I'm going to do is take and make sure I go up just a little bit from the first hole. So I'm not measuring it, I'm just eyeballing it, and I'm drilling straight down, and then I'm going to turn it sideways a little after I get my drill out and drill in sideways. But it's going to be a little higher than the first diagonal hole that I did, and then flipping it over and doing the same thing on the other side. I hope you can see what I'm doing and you get the gist of it. When I put them in, you will definitely see that they are from corner to corner opposite that first ring on both of them. And then I decided to go ahead and use the biggest ring, and I'm going to flip this over and do it on the opposite side of the first ring. I hope it makes sense. You'll see exactly what it looks like when I'm done with that. And I made sure also that I drilled in all the holes nice and deep so that I can fit the rings in on all of the holes and I don't have any of them too shallow. And then once I get those done, I'm going to take a little sanding block and just sand each side so it's nice and smooth, so we can get ready for some Waverly Antique Wax. I'm going to be placing some of this on just with a little foam brush to make this wood look like it is actually stained. And I'm only doing the sides, I'm not doing the top or the bottom, because you're not going to see the top when we're done with this project, and the bottom's going to just be sitting down flat. You don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to be brushing this on all the way around, and then I'm going to take a baby wipe and I'm going to wipe off a lot of the excess so you can see the wood finish, and it looks really nice. I like the color for fall. So once that is all done and it's set aside and has dried, we're going to start putting our rings in. So the first ring, what I did is drill opposite sides, as you can see, about 1 inch down in the middle, maybe a little more than 1 inch. And I'm going to actually pull them out and put some hot glue on the edge and then stick them back in. And I drilled in quite a bit so it'll get pushed in a little bit so that it will stay in there nice and secure. You could use some E6000 or some super glue or something to glue these in, but they'll stay pretty good with the hot glue. Then the next ones that I ended up doing here in a second, I did put a little hot glue on the sides of the first one, are the middle size, and I remember I have 2 of these. So I drilled in from corner to corner on sides. I'm going to put some hot glue on the rings about 1/4 of an inch in diagonally, so these would go across diagonally in this ring, and about 1 inch down also for this first ring. Then the second ring that I did, that's the same size as that other middle one, I'm going to put hot glue on the tips on this too, and I'm going to place it in opposite corners where I drilled in diagonally, and that's going to be a little bit higher than 1 inch down so it sits on top of the first ring. And don't worry, you can always re-glue these, or glue them once you get them in, is what I'm going to be doing. But as you can see, the top crisscrosses and it does not touch the small ring. Then the last ring, the largest one, I'm going to put in. I'm going to put glue on that too, it's going to be opposite sides of the small ring. And I glued that one, I drilled in the wood block at the bottom about an inch up from the bottom. Now, when I started putting it in and I looked at it, that ring is a whole lot bigger than the other two. It was too big for me, so I ended up taking it out and cutting off about 2 inches of the ring because it just seemed really large for the centerpiece that I was trying to make. It's just way too high. And I don't want to glue this one in to start with because I need to decorate around the wood block and put things in there, and I want to be able to move it, and it sits in there fine. I just need to be able to move it to do the decorations. So I'm going to cut off about 2 inches off of this ring because it's too big for me with my wire cutters. And then I'm going to put it back in the opposite way of the first small little ring. So you'll see it crisscrosses and it goes in an X with all of the different directions of this. And I think it makes like a really cool cage on this wood block. So now that we have that on, you'll see that that large ring will move for me so I can get stuff in there, but the other ones are glued down. I'm going to just start taking some of the leaves that I have and start gluing them to the wood block. And I'm going to cut off a lot of stems so they're not in the way and just glue the leaves down. And I kind of like this to be a little bit symmetrical, so like I'm using these two across from each other and not next to each other. I'm using some of the leaves from that garland that was from Hobby Lobby. It's the red and green maple ivy garland. I have these leaves that have kind of a pinky orangey tone to them. They came from Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and I've had those in my stash, so I pulled out some of those to put on here as well. I also am going to grab a few Dollar Tree leaves and put it on here. And basically, it's up to you how you want to decorate the top of this. But as you can see, I have one of the velvet pumpkins from Dollar Tree, and that is going to be the star of this kind of little centerpiece in the middle. Now you can make this to hold a pumpkin like I'm doing, or you can make it to hold a candle or a small hurricane vase. There's so many different things you can put in there. You can put like a little figurine, like a little owl or something, but I'm using the pumpkin from Dollar Tree for this. So now these leaves, I know it's a little hard to tell, but what I'm doing is I'm taking the leaves and I'm putting glue on the bottom edge of them, and I'm gluing them down to the bottom leaves. I am not gluing anything at all to the pumpkin. And then I'm taking a few berries that came on the kind of pinky red orangey leaves, and I'm gluing them to the leaves as well. I'm kind of making a cage out of the leaves too. As you can see, I put glue on the bottom of this leaf and I'm gluing it down to the leaves. You can take the pumpkin out of this. I'm just making the leaves go around it so it holds it up. I'm also gluing in a couple of these flowers that I had in my stash. I think they came from Joann's last year, but I know I saw some like that this year. And as you can see, I can pick up the pumpkin and put it back down. I'm gluing everything to the leaves and not to the pumpkin, because if I want to, I can take the pumpkin out and put a candle in there or something else. And I am just going to keep adding things until I feel like it's done. You guys all know that I say I'm extra, and sometimes I get extra on projects, but I want this to look really nice and full, and so I just pulled out a couple of things that I had in my stash. You can make this whole project from Dollar Tree. You don't have to do things from other stores. And here I'm going to be adding in my last element, which is the berry garland that Dollar Tree carries every year, and I was lucky enough to find a ton of this. So I initially just cut off some pieces, wrapped it around my finger so I could get the little twirlies, and then I'm wrapping it around the wreath forms pieces. I'm going to do this on all of them except for the smallest form in the middle that goes around the pumpkin. I'm going to do it around all the other ones at different heights, and I cut off different lengths, and sometimes I'm not gonna let the entire thing wrap around the wreath form. I'm just gonna wrap it as far as I feel like it should wrap, and then wrap it around my finger some more, or make more curlicues going off. And you'll see that it's just kind of random and very, very whimsical. You guys, if you've been on my channel before, you know I love everything to be like kind of whimsical and chaotic and a little bit messy, and that's just my style, and I think it works really well, especially when you're trying to make, you know, personalized home decor that looks kind of high end but not like too perfect. I like my stuff to look like it's store-bought but not, you know, the average store-bought stuff, I guess you can say it that way. So I have some of the curlicues just flying off on it, and then I did take a couple of little pieces and place them around by the pumpkin as well. And then this whole project is done, and I think it makes for the perfect centerpiece for a fall season. I'm going to be putting it in the middle of my dining room table. I may put it on a runner, I'm not sure, but it's beautiful all the way around. And like I said before, you can use florals from Dollar Tree and do this whole thing from Dollar Tree. I used an extra piece of wood like this one here because we're going to make a second one, but Dollar Tree sells wood blocks also. So now for this one, I showed you I had 3 holes on one side, and on the opposite side I put 3 holes there too. I already drilled them because you saw me drilling the first one, so no need to watch me do it again. And I'm going to put them all in here so you can see how it's supposed to go, and I'll just glue it afterwards, but you'll get the idea. You would glue each one of the ends and stick them in the holes. So the first 2 holes are about 1 inch down, and then the medium size ring I put about 1 inch down underneath that one. And then the large one, I put about 1 inch and a half down underneath. And I didn't cut any of the rings. So this is what it looks like. Sort of like a halo art deco piece. And I am going to glue them all down, but they're all pretty loose right now, because I wanted to be able to show you guys exactly how I was going to decorate it. And I didn't know if I wanted to move any of them around at the time. But I, in the end, decided to make this a simpler and a kind of more neutral centerpiece that you can do. So I'm taking the same leaves from that red and green maple ivy garland from Hobby Lobby, and it goes a long way. I still have a ton of it left. It is normally, I think, like $17 at Hobby Lobby, but I got it 40% off. And so I only used 4 little corners of this on here, and I made sure that that Hello Fall sign was going to fit on here. And then I grabbed some of these florals that came from Dollar Tree, and I just cut them off the stem, and I'm going to put them around the square and kind of just like encase it in like I did with the other pieces. But I'm only going to use a couple of pieces, and yes, my ring moved right there, but like I said, I'm going to glue them all at the end. So I used 4 little pieces of leaves, and then Dollar Tree had these really nice candles this year. They smell really well, and I do believe that is the Harvest Cider one, and they're in really pretty like fall colors. This one's more of an orangey tone. They have a little lighter one too, and I put that on there because it has like a leaf on it and a little piece of leather. And then I simply glued the Hello Fall sign to the front of it. I didn't paint it, I didn't do anything, I didn't stain the little wood block. It's cedar, and I think this turned out really, really cute. Really, really kind of art deco looking and very high end. You could add in any color of flowers you wanted. You could go lighter with more of a creamy instead of the orangey beige look to it. And you can do a taller candle. You can do one of the Dollar Tree vases and put the candle inside that. But I just thought it looked really nice the way it is. I didn't even take the paper off the top of the candle or the plastic from around it because I liked how it looked. So Here are all my projects. My mother is in love with this charger one. She's already claimed it. And so that will be going to her house. I simply have it stuck to the wall right now with some duct tape, you guys. But I'm going to be using some command strips for her. And here is my favorite of all three. I'm in love with this. I think it is perfect for me. It is whimsical. It's chaotic. It's slightly messy with the vines going up it, but I think it looks really high end and store bought. And I'm hoping you guys like this. Is what I came up with these reforms. I had so many people request that I do something with it, so I thought this was a really good idea to kind of cage something in there. It would be really whimsical with like a little creature or something sitting in there instead of the pumpkin, and maybe smaller pumpkins too. But I love it just like this is. And then the other one that I did, I think it's pretty cool too. And you can put Hello Fall on both sides of that if you have two of the packages, and it can be a centerpiece as well. So that's it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. And if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button because I got more coming at you. And I will catch you in my next video. Hi loves, it's Lacey and welcome back to our space. So here we are, and we are going to be using this beautiful off the hook loopy faux fur yarn to make a wreath. I'm going to be starting off with a 18-inch reform here from Dollar Tree, and all I'm going to do is glue the faux fur to the wreath on the outer and then wrap it around this reform. At first I thought I was going to weave it in and out, but I like it better wrapped around the reform. As you can see, I have a smaller piece of that skein that I had cut off to test to see how I wanted to do it. I want it to be nice and fluffy, and all we're going to do is go around the reform completely and cover this entire thing. I fluff it as I go just a little, but it's as simple as just wrapping it around and gluing it down. So here's what it looks like with one full skein. I'm just fluffing it up. These were on clearance at Joann Fabrics for $3 a skein, and I end up using about 1 2/3 of a skein all together. Okay, now that we have this entire reform covered, I'm just fluffing it up and making sure that you can't see any of the green through it. And then we are going to start decorating it. I picked up these kind of white colored leaves at Joann's, and they were $7.99, 40% off. And I also ended up getting these beautiful corals and kind of pinky red and orange colored ones, again 40% off. And both of these I used a 25% off coupon because it's friends and family at Joann's today and tomorrow. I also used some of these green leaves that I already had in my stash, and I'm going to be using some of these wheat stems that came from Dollar Tree. And then I found this beautiful flower on clearance at Joann's at the same time. I couldn't use my 25% off coupon for that one, but we are going to be adding that to this wreath as well. So now I'm just cutting off several of the leaves in different colors and figuring out where I'm going to put them. You guys know me, I'm extra. I'm going to put a whole bunch on the side of this wreath. And I think I am going to forgo putting on a bow. I know, you guys are shocked. I was a little shocked, but I think it's just beautiful without the bow. So let me just be quiet and finish decorating for you guys. Okay, here I'm adding all of the wreath, and I know you can't really see every time I'm putting glue on the stems, but I want you guys to know that everything that I'm placing on here, I am gluing and sticking it into the faux fur and underneath the leaves. And here is my final project, and I love how it turned out. This is my version of a neutral colored fall wreath, and to me it also has sort of a bohemian feel. As you can see, it does not even need a bow, which is shocking for me, I know. I have it hanging here inside my front door on a command strip hook, so it is hanging directly from the frame. You do not need any kind of hanger on it if you're going to hang it like that. Also, if you get to Joann Fabrics today, the 2nd, or tomorrow, the 3rd of October, you can get 25% off of all of their fall items extra if you are a part of their rewards program. So that is it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, for liking, and always sharing my videos. And if you are not a subscriber here at Lacy Space yet, I don't know why not. Go ahead, smash that subscribe button, become a subscriber, hang out with us for a while. We have a lot of fun here. Also, if you like, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Lacy Space, the same way it's spelled here, and I will catch all of you in my next video. Hi loves, it's Lacy and welcome to our space. So today we're going to be doing some fall door decor because I am behind on all my fall decorations. And as you can see, I have a lot of items here. Most of them are from Dollar Tree, like the wood plank sign, but this jute twine, this napkin, and that towel were from a place called Debbie's Dollar Store, and then that pumpkin and these leaves here are from Hobby Lobby, along with, I do believe, a couple of the other little decorations. So the very first thing we're going to do here for this DIY is I'm going to be taking a piece of the napkin and gluing it down to the back of this plank to make the opening where the pumpkin is have a maple leaf in it. Then I'm taking this kitchen towel. I really like it. It's nice. It is burlap, and I'm folding it over and measuring how much of it I want to use to make like a kind of bag on the bottom of our sign. I'm going to cut off the excess and save that because we're going to use a piece of that. And then I'm going to glue down a hem on this. I absolutely love this store where I ended up getting this towel from. My girlfriend Cheryl, who has her own YouTube channel called Homewood Studio. I've mentioned it before here on my channel, took me there for my very first time, and I picked this up along with those napkins that I used in another DIY you might have seen. So now here on the bottom, I'm just gluing it over to make sure that it's attached to our plaque really well, and then I'm going to fold the sides in and glue them down as well. I'm going to make the bottom touch each other, but the top I'm going to leave them open just a little bit so it makes like a bag on the front of it, so I have enough room to put some florals and things inside of it. And as you can see, I'm making sure I do have enough room on the front. I'm going to go ahead then and glue the sides down nice and secure. I'm using Gorilla Hot Glue in my Ryobi glue gun here. I love this battery operated glue gun. I use it all the time, you guys have known, and it's by Ryobi. You can find them on Home Depot's website. If you do go buy one, go over to Ryobi on Instagram and tell them I sent you over there to get one. But I love mine. If you are a fan of Ryobi tools, you have got to get the hot glue gun. So now, as you can see, I'm taking the extra that I cut off, and I'm going to cut out a square to cover up the back of that napkin. I'm doing this just in case I ever want to place this outside. I have a covered porch, so I don't have to worry about it getting too wet, but I wouldn't want that to come off the back or anything to get behind it and chew through it like a bug or anything. So yeah, now I am going ahead and I'm going to hem all these edges so it just has a nice clean look to it. And then I'm going to glue it down to the back of the napkin to keep it protected. You could also glue a piece of plastic on top of the napkin to make sure it didn't get wet or anything before you put it into the window there, and it'd be a lot more secure. And yes, I'm using a little spatula from Dollar Tree. It's silicone. The hot glue does not stick to it, and it saves your fingers. So next, I am going to be taking this ribbon that came from Dollar Tree. It has maple leaves and stuff on it, and it's in the same colors that are on the towel and in the napkin. And I'm going to be folding it around the top just to give it a little more interest and make it a little more decorative there. I'm putting a little bit of hot glue there just to hold it into place, and of course I'm going to glue it all the way down on the back. I cut it a little long, so I cut off the excess there for you guys. And I'm going to just make sure that's nice and secure. I don't want anything flapping around in the back of it. Then after I'm done with that, I have this really nice ribbon that I'm going to be adding to the front. It is the faux leather ribbon that Dollar Tree had. They had this earlier in the year, and I ended up getting at least one of every color. And I think this color is kind of a burgundy wine, and it goes very well with it. I didn't cut it to go all the way around because I didn't want to waste any of it. And since you're not going to see the back, I used a minimal amount of it. Now I pulled out of my stash that I didn't show you before this ribbon. It's on a spool of 4 different ribbons, and I'm using the orange. It came from Hobby Lobby. So all I'm doing is making a little loop over the top and then pulling the ends through, and I actually have 2 pieces of ribbon, so I have 4 ends hanging down on it, and I'm going to glue that down into place with my faux leather ribbon. See how nice that looks across the edge of this? I absolutely love it how it is. And I want to apologize for how my camera's kind of angled weirdly. I didn't even know that it got bumped, and so it's sideways on my desk instead of straight up and down, but we're gonna make it work. You guys are just gonna have to ignore the messes that you see on the table off to the side and my cell phone at some point. So now I'm just flipping this over onto the sides and flipping over the leather. As you can see, it doesn't touch in the middle, but I didn't want to waste any of that ribbon. Now I'm also taking this twine, and it is covered with like a jute, but it's more of like a strawy like jute, but it has the pretty same colors in it as the other parts of this DIY, like the red and the green and stuff. So I thought it'd be really nice to add some of this. It is difficult to work with because the wire in it is really strong, and I'm not that strong, so I'm just holding it down to make sure that it sticks with my Gorilla Hot Glue. And this took a minute. As you can see, all this footage is sped up because I don't want you guys to have to wait forever to see what I'm doing, but that took a minute. But I think it added some texture to it, and I really like it. So next, I'm looping a metal maple leaf that came off of another Dollar Tree product. I think it came off of a candle at one point that I had in my stash, and I'm looping it around and then gluing it up at the top because I want it to dangle from some of those ribbons. I'm also taking the laser cut wood cutouts in the Crafter Square section at Dollar Tree. I finally found the ones that had the maple leaves, and I don't know what that other little leaf is called, but I glued one to each one of those. And I think it's really cute that they dangle over the truck. So here now I am stuffing all of my florals inside of the bag. I have the maple leaves and the orange pumpkin from Hobby Lobby, and then I have these flock balls and some of the eucalyptus, and I think I put some wheat in there, and I'm going to glue in some other small pumpkins that came off of some Dollar Tree leaves in, and this project is done. Look how cute this is. I had so many people ask me what I was going to do with this wood plank and if I could do something different than what they already have seen. And so this is what I came up with. I had a couple of ideas, but I thought this one was really, really cute. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. Did I come up with something different that you guys like for this? For our last DIY, I had a request. I had a request for all of these DIYs. Wow. I had a request to do a swag for the door. I had a couple of people say that their swags were not holding up very well, and they want to see how I put one together and what I use for the base. So for the base of all of my swags, I just use florals. I normally don't put them on any kind of base. You could use like a wire hanger or something, or maybe use the Dollar Tree witch hat and turn it upside down to do that or something. I don't know. I never do. So we're just going to use a bunch of florals. So I have some from Dollar Tree, some from Hobby Lobby, and some from Joann Fabrics. Joann Fabrics has a huge sale right now on all their fall florals. And so I went there and I ended up picking up quite a few things. Me and my girlfriend Cheryl spent quite a bit of money there. But I have a lot of florals that I absolutely love, including this orange bush. What it is, I don't know. They call it an orange bush, and it's going to be one of the stars of this swag. So I'm starting off with this. I don't know what this is called either. It's called Bush from Joann Fabrics, and I have two of them. I placed them next to each other, and I'm going to zip tie them together. Now, you can see they're pretty sparse in the middle. That's because over next to me, you might be able to see by the orange, I pulled off a lot of them that were in the middle because it's unnecessary for them to be there. And I want to stick some into my actual swag when I'm putting it together, so I have that flow through the whole thing and it's not just on the back. But that's going to be my base, and I zip tied it all together, and now I'm going to put these beautiful orange pieces. I love this. When I saw it, I'm like, I want to make something with it. I know it's kind of funky looking. I think that's why I love it. But I am going to be putting this down in the middle here. And look, this is basically fresh from the store, and it fits there so perfectly. I also took the greenery that's here at the bottom that I just cut the zip ties off, and I cut the bottom handle off of it because it was too long. And now I'm going to be zip tying it to the orange piece. I don't use zip ties for the whole thing, but this way it gives it a nice base to be putting other things on top of it, and it's already pretty much in the shape of a swag, so I love that. Now I'm taking this pick that came from Hobby Lobby, and you saw I put down the screen pieces by it. They were sticking out the side and I didn't like where they were. We're still going to use it. We're going to put them right down at the bottom here and make a base to put other things on. So I just take pieces apart, and this is how I do a lot of my swags and a lot of my wreaths that I ever put together. I put the pieces in, make sure I see where they go and where I want them, and then I take them out and I glue them down, or I zip tie them down. Now I am taking the extra part of the pick and I also zip tied it down already. I figured you didn't need to see me zip tie it. You saw where I had placed it before, so it's zip tied down. Now I'm taking these leaves. They came from Joann Fabrics. I have a big, huge thing of them. And so I just cut some of them off, and I'm just going to hot glue them down to some of the pieces and stick them out. I just want this to be super full. I was asked to make one that's super full and to see how I did my base. And so this is how I did my base. And now all I do is I take picks and either put the whole pick in, like I did this one. Those came from Joann Fabrics as well. I think those were like $1.99, and so like 60% off. So that's a great deal. Like I said, if you want floral picks, or even if you're thinking that you're doing a lot of crafts for next year, I'd go to Joann's. This is not sponsored by them. It's not sponsored by anybody, but they have a lot at the stores right now, and I was very surprised at that here in Michigan. Anyway, Southeast Michigan. So now I am just going to continue to glue things in, and I make sure they're not like right next to each other if it's the same item. I want this to look like it basically grew the way that I put it together. So I take apart certain picks, like this one I'm using some wire cutters and I'm cutting off of these acorns, and I'm doing individual acorns, stick it in, see if I like it where it goes, and then glue it down. And then other things I might just take off the head of a flower and stick it in. And then others I might use the entire pick, especially if it's a smaller pick. And I know you guys are probably looking at this going, those orange things are crazy, and why does she have one big sunflower there? But I like the colors. I like the bright fall colors. And for me, it's just your personal preference, and I'm going to add in some of those other white ones, and so it's going to draw it all together. Plus with the bow that I'm going to make, I think you're going to see how it all turns out and comes together. So here I'm zip tying on the back again because I wanted to put some of those dahlias and the bright orange that came from Dollar Tree in, and I want to keep them on the stem. So a lot of the things that I keep on the stem that are like heavy duty stems that might move around, I zip tie in, and then other ones that are like little lighter things that I can put a little glue on the flower, I might just glue them in. And again, I'm using Gorilla Hot Glue in my Ryobi glue gun. I always use Gorilla Hot Glue because it stands up to heat and it stands up to cold and high winds and stuff most of the time, especially if you want to put it outside. And I do believe this whole piece can just go outside. Like, even if it was rained on or snowed on, it won't get damaged because all of these flowers are pretty durable. So now I'm just going to continue to add in things. I have some eucalyptus pieces that I have off of a pick from Hobby Lobby, so I shoved some of those in. You can see I put some of the white flowers to help draw in the white for the big sunflower at the top. And now I am taking some of the pieces of that under piece of pick, like the first pick we used, the one that was called a bush. I don't know what that is, but I thought it was beautiful. And I'm taking all those pieces that I had left over, the pieces I took off the back, and I'm shoving them in the top and the front, under the edges where it needed it on the outer portion and stuff. That's why I took them off, so it looked like it was actually growing out of that kind of bush. And once I get all of those in, the floral part is really going to be done. I didn't even use half of the flowers that I have over on the other sides. The orange pick and the underneath part was a full pick each time. I had 2 of the greenery and 1 of the orange, and then the rest of it I just used pieces. So now I'm going to make a bow, and I'm sorry that I'm pretty much out of frame for this, but it is just a regular bow that you would tie, but it's triple. So I did 1 loop on one side, 1 loop on the other side, pinched it in the middle, and then I did the same thing. I just wrapped it around to a loop on the opposite side, and you can see there's just 3 loops on one side and 3 loops on the other side, and then I left a long tail on the bottom. So I'm going to take a zip tie and put it around the whole thing, and then pull the tail that I left hanging. And I also made sure, because this ribbon says thankful on it, that all the thankfuls were going the same direction, so none of them would be really upside down. And I pulled the tail of that ribbon through the zip tie, and I'm going to turn it over and then tighten it up. And I'm just kind of straightening it out to make sure I know that when I tighten that zip tie up, it's not going to make any of the loops move too much. So I'm pulling the piece that I wrapped all the way around the ribbon, the tail part. And I hope you understand that. If not, you can just not leave a long tail. You can just put a zip tie around it and then get another piece of ribbon and wrap around the middle to make that knot in the middle. and just glue it on back and then add tails on later. I just left a tail. That's how I normally do my things. And then I'm just checking to see that it fits there, and it does. But before we glue this down and fluff it up real nice, I'm going to take that orange ribbon from Dollar Tree and I'm going to cover the handles. And I'm not even going to cut any of them out because they're thin enough and it'll be pretty enough to do it. So I'm just going around this really quickly. I'm not being perfect. I'm putting a little bit of hot glue because I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to go up it and then here I am coming down. I sped this footage up, but I'm being really careful this time so it looks pretty, and putting a couple of little dots of hot glue to make sure it doesn't move, and I'm making this look pretty as I go back down. And I didn't use all of it. I do cut off a piece and I have a piece left, and I had already used a little bit of that ribbon too, so it comes, I think it's 9 feet of ribbon, and I probably used about 2 feet of ribbon to cover that handle. And once I get it all covered nicely, I'm just going to put some hot glue on it and I leave it like that. Then I'm going to take another tail, just going to cut off another piece of ribbon. I dovetailed the end, and I'm going to glue it down to the handle and then glue my bow down and dovetail the end of the other side, the other tail that I left, the other extra long piece of ribbon that I left. I hope all this makes sense. You guys can see what I did. You guys are used to me being extra and doing it like this, and it's done. Look at how full and beautiful this looks. Doesn't this look amazing? I love the colors. I love how it turned out. I can tell you right now, I already don't have it because the person that's claimed it is my mother. She's decided it's hers. She wanted a nice full swag too. And so the person who asked me actually was in another state, and they just wanted me to show how to do it. So I didn't make it for them. I was just doing a tutorial for them, but my mom saw it and she's already like, this is replacing the one that's on my door. And no, I didn't make the other one. I did enhance it for her a little, but she loves this and it's going on her door. To be fall DIYs utilizing some sort of leather. And I know it's a little early for fall DIYs, but I've seen lots of other YouTubers do fall DIYs already, and I decided to go ahead and jump in on the bandwagon. So for my first DIY, we are going to be utilizing a Dollar Tree leaf sign, some faux leather. They also came out with words in leather, some pip berries, some Arteza paint, but not that one, and some ribbon. So first off, I'm going to be taking my Ryobi heat gun and heating up the back of the sign because as you can see on the front of the sign, there's an extra piece of wood, and I want to remove that without breaking it because we are going to utilize it for this project. So that took me a very long time to do, like over 10 minutes, and you'll see I actually burnt it on the back. But once it came off, I am taking my Ryobi sander and I am sanding down the bits that are left over it, and then I'm going to take a bunch of Mod Podge and I'm going to cover this entire thing with Mod Podge. I actually do more than one layer of Mod Podge on this to make sure that I can adhere the faux brown leather from Dollar Tree on top of this and it won't come off. I make sure I get all the way to the edges of this sign so that it will stick really, really well with this. Then I'm going to take out my brown faux leather. I only have one of these. Well, I'm going to turn around and cut it down so I can adhere it on to this sign. And don't worry if it has lines in it because they come right out when you get it down. Then I'm going to turn it over, and as you can see on the back, it's burnt. So I didn't like the look of that. I'm waiting for the Mod Podge to dry, and I'm going to take a little bit of antique wax, which is just like a brown stain for that wood, and put it on the back of it to cover up where it was burnt. After that, I am using my Ryobi hobby knife, which is just like an X-Acto knife, and I am cutting really close to my wood leaf and going around to cut out the shape of the leaf to make sure that I get a nice clean edge on it, turning the leather as I go. I'm just cutting off the excess leather for this, and it worked out really, really well. I'm going to make sure that I get all the little connections before I take it off, and when I'm done, you have a perfect cutout of this leaf in the leather. And I'm going to save all that leather for other projects because it is quite nice. Then I'm going to turn this over, and with some little detail scissors that I have from Dollar Tree, cut any little loose ends. Now I'm taking some Arteza paint in the color Pearl Marmalade. It's one of their metallic paints. I absolutely love their paints. This is not a sponsored video, but if you're interested in their paints, I will have a link in my description at the end of this video for you to check them out. It is such a nice quality of paint that I only need one coat for this, and I think the color goes really well with the leather. So now I'm going to take and just glue that down back where it was, and you can see the two-tone of color makes this really pop on it, and I love the fact that it's metallic. So I opened up some beige faux leather words that Dollar Tree came out with this year. I don't know if they had it last year, but I settled on the word bless. It was blessed and thankful in there, and so I settled on the word blessed, and I'm going to be gluing that to the front of my leaf sign here to make a nice wall hanging. And you can actually stop here if you want it, but you guys know I'm extra, and if you're new to my channel, I like to take it a full extra mile for all of my projects. So I'm going to make a double bow here out of this Dollar Tree ribbon. It's like a gingham. I got it last year, but I do believe they probably have it this year in their like fall decorations as well. All I'm doing is looping the loops over more than once, and then taking some pit berries that I cut off, just a little section of it, and wrapping it around to be the tie of the middle of this bow. Once I get that all tied the way that I want, and I put the pit berries in the front of the bow where I want, I'm going to cut off the other end. I always seem to tie my bows with them still connected to the full spool of ribbon. It just kind of works out for me. I don't know. But once I get that tied in the double bow like I want, I'm going to cut off the other end, and then I'm going to glue it to the center of my leaf at the bottom under the bless sign where the two pieces actually connect. Then once I have that down, I already pulled off some pit berries over to the side. As you can see, I'm going to cut those down a little bit more, and I'm going to adhere them on either side of the bow just to give it a little extra decoration. And then once I get both of those on to this sign, I'm going to cut off the tails of it and then take some of those extra pit berries that were left on the pieces that I cut off and put those in the middle of the sign with the, I do believe, 4 pieces of pit berries that are already there. I just thought that it needed a little bit more in the center, but after I cut the tails, then it's done. And I absolutely love how this turned out. It was simple. The colors go really well together, and I really wanted to do something with the Dollar Tree faux leather, and I think this turned out really, really well since they came out with the words. Now on to our second DIY. For this one, I'm using some different Dollar Tree words. They had them last year. Some Dollar Tree burlap leaves. I also have some ribbon from Joann, some Dollar Tree burlap, and then this other kind of checkered ribbon that came from Hobby Lobby. Also from Hobby Lobby is this leather charger. These were regularly $5.99 last year, and I got them on clearance. And then this year I found this beautiful plate. It has some damage on it, and it was 40% off of, I think, $11.99, but they gave me an extra 20% off because it was damaged on the back. So in order to put this plate onto this charger, this is what I want to do. I'm using Gorilla Epoxy glue. It was a two-part system that I had to mix in this cup, and you should use gloves for this. I mixed it up according to the directions, and I put it on the back of the plate, and I'm adding in hot glue so that it sticks down right away so I can work with this project, because the epoxy will take several hours to cure and will be fully cured onto that and will not come off after 24 hours. After that, I'm going to be taking some antique wax from Waverly. It came from Walmart. It's the same thing that I used earlier to do the back of the leaf sign. And I'm going to be coating the bottom of this welcome fall sign that came from Dollar Tree in their fall decorations. They have it again this year. Mine are from last year. I did the fall section really dark, and then the top, the welcome section, I did it lighter, and now I'm using a baby wipe to wipe away some of the top, so it's kind of like a variegated sign, and it's, you know, it falls down into fall to be darker, the color. I'm then attaching it here into the middle of my plate. I do move this because it seemed a little crooked to me. I couldn't tell right there, but I am going to be decorating just the top of it, and I have these, I don't even know what they are. They're sort of like wheat stems from Hobby Lobby this year. I really thought they were pretty, and they're really quite soft. I took the greenery part off of them because I didn't like it with this, and I am gluing it to the middle and the top of my sign. After that, I'm going to take the burlap leaves that came from Dollar Tree and cut the stems down and place them underneath that kind of wheat. After I'm done with that, I am going to be making my signature bow. Now, if you are new to my channel, I make a bow that I call my chaotic whimsical bow, the lacy space bow. And this one does not turn out as perfect as some of my other ones. I will link it down in my description box later, one of my videos where I show my bow, and then my bow tutorial is always down in my description box if you want to check that out. But if you're an oldie but goodie, you know what this is. So what I do is I take a bunch of ribbons, sometimes up to 4, and I wrap them around themselves in layers, and then I cut in on the side of that wrap to the diagonal. And normally I use some kind of floral wire, but I've been using little mini zip ties to fasten my bows lately. So that's what we're doing. We're using a white zip tie, and we are tightening it as tight as we can get it, but I want to make sure I do not tear through my ribbons. Then I cut all of the ends all the way through, and that's what I'm doing here. And then I pull them apart and twist them. Each one that I pull out, I twist. Now, the little thin ribbon, you don't have to worry about twisting. It'll twist along with the other ones, and I slowed it down here so you can see me just pulling it and twisting it. And I twist some one way, and then I twist some the other way. You're just separating the ribbons to make a big ball. And then it looks kind of, oh, then I forgot I had one of my leaves left. And so I cut it in half because only 5 came in the pack, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough on either side. Though I tell you, when I look at this later, it kind of looks like antlers are coming off of this, which would be cool if there was a deer on the plate, but it's a little bird. So anyway, back to our bow. It looks like a puff ball, so I find where the zip tie came out at, and then I take each one of the ends of this bow and I dovetail them. Now I can tell you right now, these ribbons were not very nice. The burlap one is from Dollar Tree, and it started to fray on me, but the checkered plaid one, it was from Hobby Lobby, and I thought it would do so much better, and I was trying to make this whole project to be really neutral, but it frayed really, really bad on me. Each one of the corners was starting to peel off. So I did dovetail all of these, but they kind of look messy, and I'm fine with that. I think it looks fine as a messy bow because everyone's making messy bows, but normally it would be more defined in my lacy space bow. Now I'm just going to go ahead and glue that in the center, and like I said, that sign that I glued down wasn't on as straight as I liked it, so I took it off and I am going to be re-gluing it down over towards the bird in that empty space, and this is what it looks like. I know a lot of people don't care for traditional fall colors, and I love them, so I thought I'd give you guys a neutral one as well. Now, if you can't find that Hobby Lobby charger, which they do have it online, I'm going to show you how you can make your own. I have both of those plates. One is plastic and the other one is regular dish stoneware, and some white of the faux leather from Dollar Tree. I would have used the brown again, but I only had one brown and it wasn't enough to cover this plate. So I'm going to be using the white. So then next, I'm going to be taking our glass plate, and I actually did cover it completely in Mod Podge, and I was going to use that to adhere the leather down. But as you can see, it's wrinkly, and after it's sitting for more than a half an hour, it never dried on here. I don't know why exactly. I did leave it on there and it wrinkled up really bad, and then I decided to use some of this paint, which is the Pearl Marmalade, and I put it on and stippled it with like a stippling brush, and then I grabbed a regular paintbrush and I am going to completely coat this because I do want it more of a brown color. This is more of a coppery look, but I decided to go ahead and stick that on. And as you can see, then I stippled it with a stippling brush, and it looks so much like suede. Right here with it wet, it does look a little bit different, but once it dried, it looks so much like suede, and I absolutely loved the look of it. When it got a little heavy with the paint, because I did put too much on there, I just wiped it off on a paper towel and then went back in and stippled it. So once that dried, I took it off the plate, cleaned the plate up, and I took it outside and I spray painted it black. Then I turned around and I put a dab of hot glue in the middle, and I grabbed fabric glue instead of the Mod Podge. And I did paint that plate black on the back. It was a matte black. I didn't paint it black on the top. That shiny part is the actual plate. I'm taking fabric glue and then putting it in the crease and using my silicone spatula from Dollar Tree to scrape the glue kind of into the crevice really well and just press it down. And it worked perfectly. As you can see, you can start seeing the inner circle of that. You couldn't see it with the white very well, but it's adhering to it perfectly. And even though it still looks like it has a whole bunch of creases and bubbles in it, it doesn't when I get done with it. So once I get the center part to glue down, and I only left that for like a couple minutes, then I started gluing the edge. And once you press it down with the fabric glue, after I spread it out some, it gets rid of all the creases. And I absolutely love how this was turning out. And I love the fact that it looks like faux suede. So, I mean, suede is leather. It's just a treatment that happens to it. So I thought this looked really, really nice as this. And I'm just going to continue going around until you can see it's pretty much perfectly smooth. Now, after I got done with that, you could put your plate on there and you'd have a faux suede or faux leather. You could just brush it and not make it look like suede. It almost looks like a charger with this plate, and you could decorate it any kind of way you want it. You can use any of these leaves and stuff from Dollar Tree. But I decided I want to make something different. And so I took out this ribbon, this metal ribbon that came from Dollar Tree earlier in the year. It has these little buds hanging down from them that kind of remind me of pine cones. And I painted it the same marmalade, and then I decided to glue it all the way around the edge. I have to tell you, this was such a nice finishing touch to the side of this. However, you could see a little bit of the glue that was coming out of the top. I didn't like that, and if you guys have been here a while, you know I like my projects to look like pretty much you could buy them in the store. And so once I got through gluing this all the way down, all the way around the edge. I grabbed some cord from Dollar Tree. This is cording here, and I glued it around, and then I painted that as well. Then I grabbed some picks. These came from Hobby Lobby. I had them in my stash, and I decided that I was going to hook them on to this tray. I usually adorn my trays and stuff, especially in fall, because I love fall so much. So I had two of the same picks, and I took one and I just stuck it on the side. I had to glue the pine cone back off on it, and then I took the other one apart and I started sticking in pieces here and there, and this is what it looked like when it was done. I know it looks a little crazy, but I think it's going to be perfect for fall. These decorations that are already on here will go with other decorations that I will stick on it when I use for a tray. And it works perfectly like this with the little trim going around with my metal ribbon. And then I remembered I had some walnut actual logs that we had cut into like bases, and so I put it on one of those, and look at how cute it turned out. I absolutely love this project. I have to tell you, I think it's my favorite. So then I decided, let's do a couple more things, because I do have a little bit of the brown leather left. And so I found one of my Dollar Tree little house frames. It has this matting in it that's shaped like the house, and I placed it down on to this faux leather, and then I traced around it. Now you could have did this with the leaf earlier. I did it the other way because it had so many intricate pieces on it. I didn't want it to move on me and to have to try to trace it perfectly. I glued it down, but this was easy. I just traced all the way around this, and I cut it out with my scissors. And once I got the outside cut out, I bent it over. These lines will line up on the inside, and then I cut out the rectangle. Now make sure you save all of these pieces, because that rectangle that I'm keeping, I'm going to use in a future project, I know. And so if you did this project too, or you're going to try it, make sure you save that in case you want to make what I make the next time. Now I also looked at my little house frame, which is not wood, I don't think. I think it's like a plasticky something, or it's got a coating on it. And I decided it was too light. It was a weird color to the wood. So I'm putting some antique wax on it, and I'm doing it with a baby wipe. So it's kind of wiping it on and wiping it off at the same time. And as you can see, that side that I didn't do was lighter. So I did the whole thing, let it dry, and then wiped it down. And I pulled out of my stash this fabric that Dollar Tree had in their fall section last year. I know they'll have something similar, if not the exact same thing this year. So I'm just cutting out a piece that will go into the window, as you can see, of where that matting would be. I cut the corners off because they were sticking out on the side, and I'm going to just glue it down to this matting. And then it's time to assemble this back together. I put the glass back in after I cleaned it. Then I'm going to put down my leather. I am so struggling saying leather today. And then I'm going to put my matting with my fall fabric in it and turn it around. And this is what it looks like. And then I remembered they had these little gnome stickers. They're kind of 3D on some of them, and I absolutely love them. My granddaughter saw them and she loved them. So I thought I'd do something fun with this. And I'm going to take a couple of the gnomes. I actually end up using 3 altogether. I didn't want to use ones that had pumpkins because I was staying away from pumpkins for most of this DIY. I did show you the one pumpkin plate, but I actually didn't make anything with it until the end here. And so I put one that's holding a pumpkin, one that's holding cookies and like hot cider or hot chocolate, and I put down some little leaves and like a little hedgehog, I think it is. I did put this thankful sign down at the bottom, but I do take it off here in a minute because I didn't want it to seem like Thanksgiving, so I'd rather take that off. I cut a popsicle stick down, and I took a little piece of that faux leather and I put it on top, and then I painted underneath it and used a pencil to draw faux bricks. It's so simple. I just did a little bit of like the marmalade with a little bit of white paint so it looked like brick. And then I did horizontal lines all the way across going down, and then little vertical lines between the horizontal lines to make it look like brick. Then I took the middle sign that says something like give thanks. I'm not sure exactly what it says and I can't see it from here. But I took the middle sign and it's kind of like in a little oval, and I took some of this greenery that I do believe came from Walmart and I made a miniature wreath, and then I took some more of the little berry garland and wrapped it around it and I cut it off. I then glued that down to make a wreath around the words, and I also put on my third little gnome and took off that thankful sign. And then I'm going to add more berries to the top of it. I'm not going to make you guys sit there and watch me glue on the little berries because I cut them off and then added a bunch in the top. And I think it turned out super cute. This is so easy to do. And you could put anything on it. You could put flowers on it instead of gnomes. You could put little like corn like on it for, it's just tons of stuff that you can do. So now we're going to do our last DIY. And for this, I'm using the 8-inch reform, but I took out the center ring. That was for another project last year, and I still had this one left. And then I have these leather leaves. They came from Hobby Lobby. They're by, I think it's Robert Stanley, and they were only $4.99, 40% off. So it's 3 different colors of leaf in there. And I am going to be tucking it down into the reform and gluing one part on the top and one part underneath. You'll see here in a second. And I'm going to stack them up where they overlap each other, and I'm going to do a little pattern with the colors so that they go around the entire plate on the reform evenly. And literally, this is all I'm going to do for this DIY. I do add a wood round that's from Dollar Tree's Craft Your Square section that says home on it on the back to make it more sturdy. But basically, this is the DIY. So where all of the veins of the leaves on the back connect, I put a dab of glue and I glue it to the outer ring, and then I put a dab of glue and I glue the bottom to the inner ring. So I tuck it down in between it so one's over and one's under. A dab of glue where all of the veins meet, and then a dab of glue where the tail of that meets the inner ring. And I just overlap them and keep that pattern going, and when it's done, you can put the plate on it. You could probably glue the plate, the outer ring to the plate, and it would stay perfectly fine, and the back would just be open and you'd see the back of the plate. However, I decided that I wanted it to be a little more sturdy and make sure that the leaves weren't going to go anywhere. And I took one of the wood rounds that is in the Craft Your Square, and it says home on one side, and I glued the other side down just in case I want to take it apart and use it later for a later time. And because there was no words on it, I knew it would sit nice and flat. Then I'm gluing all the tips down and then putting hot glue on the back and gluing it to the wood instead of gluing it to the reform. And it's done. There's already a hanger on it, and I made sure the hanger was facing me. But if you want to take the hanger off of it, off of the wood round, then you could just command strip this to the wall or use alien tape and stick it to your wall. And look at how simple this is. It's just an easy, quick DIY. And it looks really cool with this plate that says gather from the Dollar Tree. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked my 5 DIYs for fall that I brought with you that all have some type of leather on them. I thought it was pretty cool, and I wanted to do something with the Dollar Tree leather, and so this is what I came up with. Comment down below and let me know which one of these was your favorite DIY. I have to tell you, my favorite, hands down, has to be this stand. It looks so much like suede in real life. I wish you guys could see it. And I'm going to decorate it for fall later, so you'll probably see it on my Instagram post or else it might be in the background of another one of my videos. I really do love the little house sign too. I think it's very cute. It's a little busy in the background, but I think my granddaughter's gonna love it and she's gonna want to keep it herself. I don't know, or I can just put it maybe by a coffee bar, because they're holding little hot chocolate or coffee. I think it's really, really a cute thing. And then this sign is perfect. I probably am going to hang it in my kitchen because it has pumpkins on it. And that is it. And if you are not a subscriber here yet at Lacy Space, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and make sure you turn on the notification bell so you can know when my next video is coming out. Also, if you like, you can follow me over on Instagram. It's Lacy Space, the same way it's spelled here. And I will catch all of you in my next video. Bye, loves. See this jack-o'-lantern? This one was $2 at the thrift store. Let's make a Pinterest-inspired DIY. here's where we are right now. Unfortunately, my camera shut off on me. I didn't know the battery had died. And so I missed filming what I did to the top of the pumpkin here. These are all things from Dollar Tree. I had this Dollar Tree wire, floral wire in red. I simply cut off a piece. It's simple to cut. It's really easy to use. And I wrapped it around my finger and made these little curly cues. These are leaves off of some Dollar Tree garland that I already had in my stash. They have some just like it this year, so you don't have to worry about it. These are some sparkly leaves. I don't know if they still have them in the Dollar Tree this year, but they have some different sparkly leaves. I used them in another project, and so you could get something similar. This gourd came off a Dollar Tree pick, and I just stuck it on there, and I put those all around the stem. They're just hot glued down, nothing special. If you're going to be putting this outside or something where there's a lot of heat, I would use E6000. I did use E6000 on the sign here, which is this glue. That piece of metal sign that says autumn came off of this sign here that says apple cider and hay rides, pumpkins, and falling leaves. Dollar Tree still has these in the store. I checked, and I just took the metal part off the top and put it here across the pumpkin. These are some of the River Rock stones. These are some bigger ones that came in the package at Dollar Tree, and I ended up using those to make like a little extra for the step. And now we are going to put the rest of this together. So I have the stairs that you saw me make with the Jenga blocks. I took some of the River Rock stones and put them on top of the little wood stems that came in a pack from Dollar Tree. If you don't have that, go to your yard or your neighbor's yard or something and go ahead and cut up a stick. That's basically all you would have to do. I don't even know if you can see that very well in this view, but I'm going to show it all to you in the end. But these are the stairs that I made for it, and I really like how they turned out. So now let's put this whole thing together. So the first thing I'm going to be putting in is this little piece of fur. I had it left over from where I made Christmas gnomes, and I just am going to use it as a fur rug. And I'm going to put it all the way in the back because I don't want to cover up that much of the flooring because I really like how it looks. Then next I have my fireplace. The fire looks a little crazy, but I don't care. You're not going to see it that much on it. I covered the front with stones, as you guys saw. That makes the front heavy. So on the back, I glued one big of the River Rock stones that came from Dollar Tree to balance out the weight. Then this is Dollar Tree ribbon I had in my stash from years ago. I know they sold it at Dollar Tree this year. They're little maple leaves. They have them in red and in orange. I don't know if they're still available in all the stores, but the fireplace is going to go in the middle, in the back. Next, I have my bookcase, which I made out of the other dresser. I made Chad sand off the little knobs on the front because I couldn't pull them off because I wanted the front scalloped edge here, and I took a piece of paper and glued that on. I don't think it's gonna matter because I really don't think you're gonna see it, but anyway, I did do that, and I put my little planter up there that you guys saw me make. Next, I have my Jenga blocks here that I made into like a little bench that I'm going to put over here in the corner. It wasn't quite level, so I put a piece of foam on the bottom. You're not going to see that, but I want it on this side here of the fireplace. Then I'm going to take and I made a little plant, and I just used a Dollar Tree shot glass, some moss, and 2 little sprigs from Dollar Tree plants, and I'm going to put that over here on the side. I just want that to sit there nicely. Then I took and I got a fairy garden piece that I have. It is a acorn light, and it does light up, and I'm going to put that on this side here. And then I have this little pillow that I showed you guys how I made, I do believe, if not, it's a piece of ribbon, and I stuffed it with some cotton balls from Dollar Tree and glued the sides. I'm going to put that on my little bench. Then next I have my chairs. These are from the Dollhouse Furniture. I'm just going to sit those tipped there, and then I'm going to put in my little table, which is Jenga blocks, and they're on a little stool that I ended up thrifting. I think it was Fairy Garden pieces. I'm sure you could find something. You could use bottle caps to stick it up or something. Then next, on top of that stool, I think I'm going to put this little pumpkin that came out of some Dollar Tree pumpkins. I just took this right out of there and make it like a little tray. I'm not even gonna put anything on it. I already put my little shelf up here with my Hello pumpkin that I wrote from the other one and stuff there. Then next is this. This is just a picture off of line that I copied, and it's of a deer. I put it on some leftover foam board, and then I took a Dollar Tree small picture frame stand and put it on it just in case I wanted to stand it up, but I'm actually just gonna lean it on top of the fireplace. And it'll be fine. What I want to put there is Dollar Tree carried some little deer head ornaments at Christmas time that would mount on the wall. I actually have that in my Christmas stuff. They had a gold one, a white one, and I think like a silvery one. I know I have white ones in my stuff, but I cannot for the life of me find them in my Christmas stuff because I have so much Christmas stuff, and I am definitely not gonna go look for them any longer. Oh, my little light decided to blink. Then next I am going to take this little moose statue that I found in some stuff that Chad has because he does Dungeons and Dragons, so it's one of his little figurines, and put it up on top of the bookcase. I had a little dog and a little cat from the Dollar Tree Fairy Garden stuff, and my granddaughter has hidden them or taken them somewhere, so I'm gonna use the fox that I have and put that here in the corner. You have a pet fox, we rescued it by the fireplace. And then I have this little basket that has like an orange, I don't know what it is. I'm gonna put that by the steps, and then I have a hedgehog by the steps, and I have one of the Dollar Tree pumpkins that I painted that I'm gonna put by the side of the house, and it's gonna be all done. So this is my pumpkin house diorama, and I made it into a little lodge. I think it turned out really, really well. So here it is, my final project, and I had so much fun making this. I absolutely love how it turned out. It is my pumpkin house diorama, and I made it into like a fall lodge. I thought at first I was going to make a Halloween theme pumpkin, and that's what I had, was all the supplies for that. And then at the last minute I said I never decorate for Halloween, so I decided to change my mind and to make something different. So I ended up actually just running around my house and grabbing stuff that I already had in my stash. The only thing that I had to buy extra for this is the top wallpaper. Everything else I already had here at my house, and it worked out really nice. It was so much fun to do. So most of the things on here came from the Dollar Tree. I used the Jenga blocks, I used the wood stones, and I used the river rocks to make the stairs. The little hedgehog that's sitting next to that is actually glued to the side of the stairs, and it was part of the fairy garden stuff, along with the little fox that's on the inside. The little basket that's sitting outside came with the little table part underneath the Jenga blocks table that I did at the thrift store. I don't even know when I ended up buying that, but you can make that yourself. And the little basket, I'm sure you could find something in like the doll section or something at the Dollar Tree if you want to do a basket. It's not even necessary. You could put another pumpkin over there. Also, the burlap that goes across the back bottom to help make the chair rail, that came from Walmart. I had that forever in my stash, but they sell that now too at Walmart if you want to do it. Or you could do a thick ribbon, or you could just paint that part and skip it and save the money. The fireplace is probably my favorite thing that I actually made, because it turned out just like a fireplace, and it's a Dollar Tree little dresser. It ended up costing me $2 at max because of the rocks if you had to buy them, because you can use any ribbon to go across it. I just happen to already have that in my stash. Now the acorn ribbon that I have that goes for the chair rail, I also put at the top. You probably saw that when I tried to show you a little footage of me making the light fixture instead of putting rope like I said I was going to do before, because it just seemed to tie in. And the light fixture hanging from the top, the chandelier, I just used pieces of a pine cone, so I have a pine cone light. I love that. I just love that. The little acorn light, it came from Michael's. It's part of their like fairy garden stuff. I've had it. I just didn't put it in our fairy garden this year. So you can still buy that also. I think this is stinking cute. I want to do another one, but don't worry, if you're not a fan of miniatures, it'll be a while. I'll probably do one either for Halloween. I know I want to do something miniature for Christmas, so we are going to do other DIYs instead of this coming up. So that is it for this video. If you have any questions or that you need answered, leave them in the comment section down below. I think I explained pretty much everything. The autumn sign is glued on with E6000, and I did take it off that sign, and that is the only thing that I didn't use hot glue for. However, like I said, if it's gonna sit in heat and the hot glue could melt, I'd use E6000 for other pieces. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, for liking, and always sharing my videos. And if you're not a member here at Lacy Space, I don't know why not, smash that subscribe button and become a member. Hang out with us for a while. We have a lot of fun here. Also, if you like, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Lacy Space, the same way that it is spelled here, and I will catch all of you in my next video.